All rise.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, this is State of Ohio versus Joel Jenkins, case number 15 CRA 0826. I am Judge Paul Price. This matter comes before the court today, the 7th day of December, 2015. For an initial appearance, we have defendant Joel Jenkins present with his attorney, Mr. Jim Bulger. The state is represented by Assistant Prosecutor Mr. Anthony Morleja. Before I begin, Mr. Bulger, would you like me to read and explain Mr. Jenkins' rights, or would you waive explanation of the rights?
We'll waive them.
Would you also like me to read and explain the charge against Mr. Jenkins as well as the possible penalties, or would you waive that as well?
We'll waive that as well.
Okay. Do you also acknowledge service of the complaint upon the defendant and waive any defects in service?
Yes.
Okay, very well. I have a bond recommendation from the state of $100,000 with a 10% provision. Also carries with it the condition that Mr. Jenkins have no contact directly or indirectly with the family of Jason Brady. Also, the state's requesting the condition that the defendant stay drug and alcohol free and be subject to random drug and alcohol testing. Are there any other additional conditions that the state is requesting at this time?
No, Your Honor. The state feels it's a reasonable request. It's the standard bond amount. We haven't imposed a 10% provision. It is a felony. It's an offense of violence. According to the allegations, the incident involved not only a death, but a firearm and the use of alcohol.
Okay. Mr. Bulger, you wish to be heard on bond?
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding that he has been a resident of Pike County for 2.5 years. He's been in law enforcement for 8 years. He was in the Sheriff's Department in Fayette County. He's also worked in corrections. He has an 18-month-old child that resides in this county. He was actively involved with the child's upbringing. He seems to be a minimal risk of flight. Although this is a serious offense and it is an offense of violence, the underlying criminal conduct is of a misdemeanor nature, and that's why we're dealing with an F3. So we hope that the court would consider those factors and perhaps have that face amount of bond.
Considering the factors put forth by the state and defense, I am going to grant the state's request and set the bond at $100,000 with a 10% provision. I will order as additional condition of bond that he have no contact with the family of Jason Brady and that he stay drug and alcohol free and be subject to random drug and alcohol testing. All right, now on to the matter of preliminary hearing. That's what we're going to need to be scheduling next. Have we picked a date yet for the preliminary hearing?
Checked Mr. Bulger's schedule and the court's schedule. We're going with this coming Wednesday at 9:30.
So this Wednesday at 9:30 is going to be the preliminary hearing. Okay. Is there anything further from the state's perspective?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything further from the defense perspective?
There was one other feature of the present situation, Your Honor, that I think should be brought to the attention of the court. Because of his law enforcement background and the publicity generated in this particular case, he is a known figure at this point in time in his present place of confinement in Franklin County, and I think that increases the possibility of violent incidents occurring where he is a victim as well. And I understand that the Scioto County Jail, he's probably a well-known person there because of his activities as a law enforcement officer in Pike County. So there are some features I think that are unique to his present predicament.
So what is the defense requesting then?
Although I haven't spoken to members of the family, I think that the 10% provision bond, which we appreciate, may be out of reach. So that a reduction in the face amount could perhaps secure his admission to bail.
Well, at this point, I'm keeping the bond at $100,000 with the 10%. Not to say that a further hearing, that the court may not consider a request to modify the bond. Certainly, the defense is willing to, the defense has that right to make that request at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing further? All right, we're adjourned.
Where are you from?
This is an accident.